The street was quiet most of the time, only the sound of leaves moving in the evening wind, neighbors living their simple lives and nothing strange to notice. But the house next door had started to feel different. John, the human, had lived there for 2 years. He had seen the alien woman who lived beside him many times. She was polite, quiet, and never caused trouble. Her skin had a faint silver glow under the streetlights, her eyes shining like crystals, but she kept to herself. Never speaking more than a few words, John never thought much about her. Until one week everything began to change. It started with the noises. Late at night when the world was still, John would hear sounds through the thin walls. Not normal sounds like footsteps or doors, but low growls mixed with sharp breaths like something fighting inside itself. Sometimes it sounded like laughter, other times like pain. He told himself it was none of his business, but the sounds kept pulling him out of sleep. Then came the lights. Windows that had always been dark at night now glowed faintly, not with the yellow of lamps but with strange shifting colors. Blue fading to red, red to gold, the glow would pulse like a heartbeat, sometimes brighter, sometimes weaker, as if the house itself was alive. John would stand at his own window and watch, a nervous feeling building in his chest. The behavior of his neighbor also changed. She no longer walked calmly down the street. Instead, she moved quickly, looking around as if someone followed her, her breathing heavy even in the cool evening air. Once John saw her gripping the edge of her own gate so hard that the metal bent under her hand. Another time she dropped a basket of food in the street and did not stop to pick it up. She simply ran inside and slammed the door. John tried to ignore it, but his curiosity was stronger. He had grown up hearing stories about aliens and their seasons, whispered warnings passed by people in the market. They said that when an alien entered this time, their bodies and minds changed. Something ancient took over. But most humans laughed at the idea, calling it myths. John had laughed too. Until now, one night, just as he was about to sleep, he heard something louder than before, a thud, followed by a cry that shook his chest. Not human, not even close. He froze in his bed, listening. The sound came again, and then the walls vibrated. He could feel it through the mattress, as if something massive was moving only feet away. His heart raced. Part of him wanted to run outside and call someone, but another part whispered that this was not danger. It was something else, something hidden. The next morning, he went to collect his mail, and there she was standing by her door, her eyes brighter than ever, almost glowing. Her silver skin shimmering in the daylight. John froze, because she looked at him in a way she never had before, her gaze sharp and unblinking, like a hunter watching prey. But then, just as quickly, she turned away and shut her door without a word. The mail in his hands shook, and John realized he was breathing faster. As if he had run a mile, he told himself it was silly. She was just a neighbor, nothing more, but deep down he knew. Something about her had changed forever. That evening, an old man who lived 2 houses down walked over. His face lined with years and his hands shaking slightly, he leaned close and whispered, "Boy, you live too close. Watch yourself." "The season is here," John frowned, confused. "What season?" The old man's eyes darted to the glowing house next door, then back at John. "Heat season, human. Don't let her see you alone. Don't answer her call, or you won't be the same again." Before John could ask more, the old man walked away quickly, almost afraid to stand there longer. John laughed nervously, brushing off the warning, but the words stuck inside his mind like sharp thorns. That night the noises grew louder than ever, his walls shaking with strange vibrations, the glow from her window spilling into his room like a living fire. And John, sitting awake in the dark, could not shake the feeling that his life was about to change. The next morning, John could not shake the feeling of unease. He kept glancing at the alien neighbor's house, the glow from last night still lingering in his memory. It was brighter than normal, almost alive. He wondered if she knew he had been awake, listening. He went outside to get some fresh air, hoping the morning sunlight would calm him. The street was quiet, only a few early risers moving slowly, carrying baskets or walking their pets. But then he saw the old man from 2 houses down again, leaning on his cane, eyes sharp, almost worried. "Boy, we need to talk," the old man said, motioning John closer. "Come sit for a minute." John followed reluctantly, unsure what could be so serious. They sat on a low wall, the air heavy with the smell of morning dew and distant flowers. "You've noticed, haven't you?" the old man whispered, his voice low. "The house next door, her behavior. It's not normal." John nodded. "Yes, I've noticed, but she's just my neighbor, right? Why should I worry?" The old man shook his head. "You don't understand, human. When her season comes, it changes everything. Not just for her, but for anyone nearby. Anyone who gets involved, lives can be ruined. Even taken, John felt a chill. Season? What season? Are you saying she's dangerous? The old man's eyes narrowed. Dangerous? Maybe. But more than that, uncontrollable, unpredictable, powerful in ways humans cannot handle. During this time, her instincts take over. Her mind is not her own, her body not hers, and if you are near, you'll feel it, maybe more than you can handle. John laughed nervously, trying to hide his fear. I think you're exaggerating. Old man, she's an alien, yes, but she's never done anything to anyone. She's quiet, polite, she wouldn't. Quiet now, maybe, the old man interrupted sharply, but Season doesn't care about politeness, about rules, about friendship. It only cares about one thing, survival and desire. Desire that can overwhelm you, consume you, and leave you. Changed, John frowned, unease twisting inside him. He tried to think rationally, but deep down, memories of last night's noises and glowing windows refused to leave him. The old man leaned closer, lowering his voice further. When the heat season comes, humans are not ready. Not even strong ones, don't ignore it. Don't be near her when she calls. If she comes to you, close the door, lock it. And don't look back or you might not recognize yourself afterward. John felt sweat on his forehead. The sun was warm, but it did not reach his skin. His heart beating fast, part of him wanted to laugh. Part of him wanted to run home. Lock every door and window, but another part was curious, burning with questions. But why? Why is it like that? Why can't she control it? The old man's eyes softened slightly, but his voice remained serious. It's in their nature, human, something ancient. Something older than cities or stars. It comes once or twice in their life, sometimes more, and it cannot be stopped, only survived, and most humans, they cannot survive it. John swallowed hard, looking at the alien neighbor's house again. The door closed, the windows dark now in the daylight, but he could still see faint traces of color shimmering on the glass, almost like they were alive, calling, whispering, teasing. He felt a pull in his chest. A strange tension he could not explain. Survive it, John repeated softly. So if I get involved, I could be in danger? Yes, the old man said simply, in danger. Maybe more than danger, but worse. You could lose yourself, your mind, your thoughts, your peace, everything. Humans are fragile compared to them during this time. Fragile and unprepared, and some never return the same. John shivered, trying to push the fear away, telling himself it was nonsense. But the old man's words stuck, curling around his thoughts like a vine, suffocating his reason as John turned to leave. The old man added one final warning. One more thing, human, no one else will warn you. People stay away for a reason. Don't ignore it. Once she notices your attention, once she knows you are curious, the season will find you, and then it will be too late. John walked back slowly to his house, each step heavier than the last, his mind racing, memories of the strange glowing, the sounds, her sudden bursts of energy, all colliding with the old man's warning. He reached his front door and paused, staring across the street at the alien house. Silence now, but tension thick as if the air itself waited, watching, listening, holding its breath. John wondered if he should have stayed away. Maybe the old man was right. Maybe curiosity was dangerous. Maybe some doors should never be opened, but another voice inside him whispered, what happens if she is in trouble? What happens if no one helps? He pushed the thought away, telling himself to stay calm, to ignore the pull, but deep down he knew that ignoring it was impossible. And whatever came next, whatever the season would bring, it would not let him go easily. And so the day passed slowly, John unable to focus, hearing every small noise, every creak of the floor, every whisper of the wind, as if the alien neighbor's presence reached across the street, reminding him that the strange behavior was only beginning, and that ignoring the warning might not be an option at all. That night, John could not sleep. The old man's warning kept echoing in his mind, every word twisting into shadows, filling the room with unease. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, but sleep would not come. His thoughts kept drifting to the alien neighbor, to her strange behavior, to the glow and sounds from last night. The clock ticked slowly, each second louder than the last, until finally John could bear it no longer. He slipped out of bed and walked to his window, careful not to make a sound, and looked across the street. The alien house was dark, but he could see faint shadows moving behind the curtains, quick movements like she was restless, pacing, waiting, planning. John's heart raced. Part of him wanted to turn away, to close the curtain and pretend nothing was happening, but another part of him, the curious part, the part that had ignored warnings before, wanted to see, to understand, to know what was coming. Then he heard it, a soft sound, almost a whisper, coming from her window, a low hum that seemed alive, vibrating through the walls, through the floor, straight into his chest. It made his skin tingle, made his hair stand. He watched suddenly. A shadow appeared at her window, tall and fluid, moving in ways that no human body should. She looked straight at him, and for a moment their eyes met. Glowing faintly in the dark, John felt a strange pull, a force he could not resist, like the night itself wanted him to move. He stepped back, knocking over a chair, the sound loud in the silent street, and she turned away quickly. But the moment had changed something. He knew it. The air had shifted, the tension thickened, and John realized he had crossed an invisible line. Hours passed slowly, each minute stretching like hours, and John could not focus. He tried to read, tried to watch television, tried to do anything to distract himself, but every sound, every creak, every shadow made him jump. He felt the presence of the alien neighbor even across the street, even in the silence. Then around midnight, the noises began again, louder this time. Strange urgent sounds, a mixture of growls and cries, a vibration that shook the windows, the floor, the very air. John's heart pounded. He felt trapped in his own home, unable to leave, unable to look away. He thought about the old man's warning, about survival, about losing yourself, about the power she had during this time, and he realized he had underestimated it. He had thought curiosity was harmless, but now, standing in the dark, listening to her, he understood the danger. Suddenly there was a loud thud, like something heavy hitting the wall, and then a series of rapid, chaotic movements, as if the entire house was alive, shifting, breathing. Filled with energy, John's fear grew, but so did his curiosity, and despite the warnings, he felt himself moving closer to the window again. Through the glass he saw her body moving with unnatural grace, her eyes glowing brighter, her hair floating slightly, as if caught in an invisible wind. She was calling softly, hypnotically, her voice weaving into his mind, pulling at his thoughts, twisting them, making him question reality. John shook his head, trying to resist, telling himself to step back, to lock the doors, to hide, but his body moved against his will, closer, drawn by something primal, something ancient, something he did not understand. Then a sudden sound, like a door slamming, echoed from her house, and she stopped, looking around, sensing something, and John froze, unsure if she knew he was watching, unsure if the moment had been noticed, unsure if he had already been seen. The street remained silent again, but the energy lingered, a hum in the air, a tension in his chest, and John realized that tonight had changed everything. The warning had not been enough. Curiosity had won, and now there was no turning back. The season had begun, and he was involved, whether he liked it or not. He backed away from the window slowly, his mind racing, trying to make sense of what he had witnessed, but nothing fit. Nothing made sense. It was not human, not logical, not safe. John went back to his bed, sitting on the edge, staring at the floor, trying to calm his breathing, trying to convince himself it was over. But he knew it was only beginning. The night had shown him the truth, the power, the danger, and the strange behavior was only a shadow of what was coming. Outside, the alien house remained dark, quiet now, but John could feel it, could sense the energy still pulsing, waiting, alive, and he understood, in that moment, that the warnings, the fear, the curiosity, it was all leading to something inevitable, something he could not control. He lay down finally, eyes open, heart pounding, knowing that sleep would not come, that tonight would stay with him forever, a warning unheeded, a danger unseen, and a neighbor whose true nature had only just begun to reveal itself. Morning came slowly, but John did not feel relief. The sun rose, casting light over the quiet street, yet the energy from last night lingered, invisible but heavy, like a weight pressing on his chest. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound carried meaning. He tried to eat breakfast, but the food tasted bland. His mind replayed the night's events over and over, the glowing eyes, the strange hum, the hypnotic movement. He could not escape it, no matter how hard he tried. Then, without warning, he heard it again, a soft rustle outside his window. His body tensed, every nerve alive, the sound pulling him toward the window, toward her house, toward danger. He knew it, yet his legs moved before his mind could decide. He peeked outside cautiously, keeping himself hidden behind the curtain, and saw her in the yard, moving slowly, her steps deliberate. Each motion calculated, yet fluid, unnatural. her glowing eyes scanning, sensing, waiting. John's heart pounded. His mind screamed to run, but another voice, a strange one, whispered inside him, telling him to watch, to stay, to not turn away. It was like a tug from the inside, primal and urgent. He could not resist. She stopped suddenly, sniffing the air, tilting her head, and then, as if sensing him, she turned slightly in his direction, her glowing eyes searching, piercing, and for a moment John froze, unsure if she knew he was watching, unsure if he had been found. Then, without warning, she sprinted fast, faster than any human could, straight toward his yard, and John stumbled backward, panicked, trying to figure out what to do, his mind racing, the old man's warning echoing louder now. Do not get involved, do not approach, stay safe. But it was too late. Instinct had taken over. Hers and his, something ancient, something unexplainable, pulling them together, forcing their paths to collide. She stopped just at the edge of his yard, sniffing, circling, her body tense, vibrating with energy, and John realized with a mixture of fear and awe that she was in full heat, the mating season, the phase that had transformed her completely. He wanted to step back, to run, to lock the doors, to call for help, but his feet stayed rooted, his body reacting before his mind. The pull was too strong, too demanding. Like gravity itself had shifted. She crouched slightly, her tail flicking, eyes locked on him, and a low, vibrating growl escaped her throat, resonating in his chest, in his bones, stirring something he did not understand, something wild. John's rational thoughts fought with the primal instinct rising inside him. He told himself it was dangerous, unnatural, insane, yet his body betrayed him, his heart racing, his hands trembling, his senses heightened. The sun climbed higher, but it made no difference. Time seemed suspended, reality distorted, the world reduced to the tension between them, the invisible connection, the magnetic force neither could deny. She moved closer, slow, careful, every step deliberate, her gaze never leaving his, and John felt it like a shock, a wave of heat, a surge of adrenaline, making his head spin, his vision blur slightly. A sudden bark from a distant dog startled both of them, and she jumped slightly, alert, but then settled again, her body calm now, eyes still fixed, studying, analyzing, measuring, and John felt a strange mixture of fear and fascination. He realized something terrifying, that this instinct, this power was beyond control, not just for her but for him too. The moment he had observed, the moment he had engaged had already changed him, had already pulled him into her world. He wanted to warn himself, to stop, to fight, but the voice inside whispered differently now. Observe, learn, survive, or succumb, and John felt himself trembling, unsure if it was fear, excitement, or something deeper. Hours passed, yet nothing happened. Yet everything had changed, the air still thick with tension, the world still pulsing with unseen energy, and John understood that from this moment, nothing would be the same. He had stepped into the season, into the instinct, into the unknown, and she, the alien neighbor, sensed it too. Pausing now at the edge of his property, eyes softening slightly, almost curious, almost amused, and John realized that tonight she would test him. She would see how far his instincts went, how much he could resist, how much he could endure. He swallowed hard, trying to steady his breathing, trying to calm his heart, knowing he was not safe, knowing he was already involved, and yet unable to look away, unable to stop, unable to deny the pull. The day stretched on, each minute slow, heavy, charged, and John knew with certainty that the nights ahead would be worse, more intense, more unpredictable. The season had begun in earnest, and he was trapped, a spectator and participant, observer and target. And somewhere deep inside he also knew that no matter what happened, he could never return to the life he had before. The ordinary, safe life. The world had shifted. The alien neighbor had changed everything, and instinct, uncontrollable and primal, was now a part of him too. Night fell, heavy and silent. The street lights flickered, casting long shadows across the pavement, and John sat at his window staring at her house, the strange energy still thick in the air, pulsing like a heartbeat he could feel deep inside. He tried to tell himself to stay away, to remain cautious, to not get involved, yet every instinct, every nerve in his body screamed differently, telling him to move, to go, to see, to engage, something primal and urgent. The alien neighbor appeared suddenly in her yard, emerging from the shadows like a creature born of the night, her movements smooth, deliberate yet wild, unpredictable, and John felt his heart catch in his throat. He opened the door slowly, not sure why he did it, his body moving on its own, carrying him toward her, toward danger, toward the unknown, each step weighted with fear and curiosity, the night alive around him, whispering secrets he could not understand. Her head turned at the sound of his approach, glowing eyes locking on him instantly, and John felt a shiver run down his spine, as if her gaze pierced through him. Reading his thoughts, sensing his hesitation, measuring his intent, she crouched slightly, tail swishing, a soft growl vibrating in her throat. Not threatening, not welcoming, but alert. A warning and a challenge all at once. And John stopped for a moment, frozen, unsure if he should continue. Yet something inside him could not resist. A force stronger than fear, stronger than reason, pulling him forward, toward the forbidden, toward her, toward the secret that pulsed in the air. He stepped closer, carefully, slowly, every movement deliberate. Careful not to provoke, careful not to alarm. Yet every step he took made the tension grow. The night charged with anticipation. She circled him once, then paused, head tilted, sniffing the air, as if confirming his presence, as if deciding whether he was a threat or a companion. And John realized that this moment, this approach, was breaking rules he did not fully understand. Rules written by instinct, by biology, by something ancient. Her growl softened slightly, then stopped, and she stared at him, her eyes glowing brighter, reflecting the moonlight. And John felt an unexpected pull, a connection forming, fragile but undeniable, linking them in a way that made no sense. He tried to speak, to break the silence, but the words stuck in his throat, his voice trembling. And he realized that tonight, words were useless, only actions mattered, only the courage to step closer, to defy instinct, to risk everything. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying scents he could not identify, scents that made his head spin, senses sharpen and heartbeat quicken, and he knew that he had entered her world, a world he could not escape once crossed. She moved closer now, slow, deliberate, eyes never leaving his, tail flicking in a rhythm that seemed to echo the pulse in his chest. And John's mind screamed danger, screamed retreat, screamed rationality. Yet his body moved forward anyway, drawn by curiosity and fear, by instinct and desire. He stopped just a few feet away, close enough to feel her presence, close enough to see the subtle changes in her expression, the twitch of her ears, the rise and fall of her chest, the glow of her skin under the moonlight. She sniffed again, soft, almost tentative, and then suddenly she brushed past him, close enough that he felt the heat of her body, the scent of her, a primal perfume that made his senses reel, made his pulse jump, made his mind fog. John stumbled slightly, almost losing his balance, and she stopped, turning her head, watching him, waiting, testing, challenging, and he realized that this approach, forbidden and reckless, had now set something in motion that could not be undone. The air between them shimmered, charged with energy, silent but loud, tense but inviting, dangerous but compelling, and John felt the thrill of fear mixed with fascination, a cocktail that left him dizzy and alive. He took a deep breath, steadying himself, trying to control the chaos inside, yet knowing that control was an illusion, that the moment had passed the point of return, that the forbidden approach had changed everything. She circled him again, then stopped, close enough to touch, close enough to sense his every movement, every thought, and John knew that the night ahead would test him, push him, challenge him in ways he could not yet imagine. A sudden rustle from the bushes made both of them tense, ears and eyes alert, and John realized that even in this strange moment, danger was near, predators and unknowns waiting, yet he could not turn back, could not escape, could not resist the pull. The connection between them grew stronger, subtle but undeniable, a silent understanding forming, something neither could explain yet both felt, something that promised excitement, danger, and the unknown. John swallowed hard, heart racing, mind spinning, body alive, and he knew deep down that he had crossed a line, taken a step he could never undo, and the alien next door, in heat, had already decided how she would respond. The night stretched before them, long and uncertain, filled with whispers of instinct and instinctual power, and John realized that the forbidden approach was only the beginning, a test of courage, a challenge of survival, and a doorway into a world that could change him forever. And in the silence, in the tension, in the charged energy of the night, he understood something he could not yet say aloud. Once you take the forbidden approach, there is no turning back. The night had grown colder, shadows stretching across the empty street, and John stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. His body tense, every nerve alert. The alien neighbor, still close, seemed to study him, her glowing eyes reflecting the pale light of the moon, and John felt as if she could see through him, read every thought, every fear, every hesitation. He had expected aggression, a warning growl, or even a chase, yet instead she tilted her head, ears twitching, and made a soft, almost musical sound, a noise he had never heard before. John's heart skipped a beat, confusion and fear mixing with fascination, as he realized she wasn't threatening him. Not yet, maybe not ever, and this unexpected reaction both alarmed and intrigued him. He took a cautious step forward, then another, testing the boundary, seeing how she would respond, and to his surprise, she didn't move away, didn't attack, didn't flee, she stayed, her body relaxed yet alert, like a predator deciding to wait. The air between them seemed to vibrate, charged with unspoken tension, a silent conversation of glances, movements, and instincts, and John felt both drawn to her and terrified of what might happen. He remembered the warnings in books, stories of humans encountering alien life, of instincts that were impossible to ignore. Yet nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing could explain the mix of fear and desire that made his heart pound. The alien made a small step toward him, and he instinctively stepped back, unsure of whether he should engage or retreat. And then, unexpectedly, she stopped, crouched slightly, and tilted her head, examining him as if weighing his worth. John realized that her behavior was not random, not chaotic. It was deliberate, intelligent, even cunning, and the thought made him shiver, aware that every move he made could change the course of the night, could alter her reaction forever. A rustle in the bushes nearby startled both of them. Ears and eyes sharp, muscles tense, and John realized that in this moment they were both on edge, each sensing the other's strength and weakness, each measuring the unknown. He swallowed hard, trying to calm the chaos inside him, trying to control the fear and excitement, but her unexpected reaction had shifted everything, had forced him into a new reality where nothing was predictable, where every instinct could be wrong. Then she did something even more startling. She approached him slowly, deliberately, stopping just inches away, and John could feel the heat radiating from her body, the intensity of her presence, the raw, wild energy that seemed to fill the night. He could hear her breathing, steady yet powerful, and the soft rustle of her movements, and for a moment, the world seemed to narrow to just the two of them, the night around them fading, leaving only the tension and connection. She sniffed the air near him, soft, almost curious, and John felt a rush of adrenaline, his instincts screaming, warning him, yet his mind caught in fascination, unable to turn away, unable to ignore the strange allure. Her glowing eyes met his again, unblinking, and for the first time John thought he saw something else, a flicker of understanding or maybe curiosity, a recognition that he was not like the others, that he was different, maybe special. The unexpected reaction left him both terrified and exhilarated, unsure if he should speak, move, or simply stay still, and he realized that his decisions now mattered more than ever, that one wrong step could end everything. He forced himself to breathe, to slow the pounding of his heart, and decided to speak, his voice low, careful. I don't want to hurt you," he said, and the words seemed to hang in the air, fragile yet meaningful. The alien made a soft chirp, a sound that seemed almost approving, almost acknowledging, and John felt a wave of relief, mixed with even more tension, as he realized that her reaction was not just unexpected, it was a challenge, a test of trust. The wind shifted, carrying scents he could not name, scents that made his senses sharper, and he realized that the night itself seemed to be alive, aware, watching, and that the unexpected reaction had changed the rules, had rewritten the possibilities. He stepped slightly closer, careful, deliberate, testing the boundary again, and she mirrored him, step by step, a silent dance, a communication beyond words. And John understood that this reaction was not aggression, not fear, not welcome, but something entirely new, something dangerous, something powerful, something that could either bond them or destroy them, depending on what came next, and he knew that he had to be careful. Clever and patient, the alien crouched again, tail flicking in a rhythm he could feel in his chest, and John realized that the night would not forgive mistakes, that the unexpected reaction was only the beginning, a prelude to something far greater, something he could not yet understand. And in that charged silence, in the tension of the forbidden, in the power of instinct and choice, John felt alive in a way he never had before, knowing that the night, the alien, and this unexpected reaction had pulled him into a world he could not escape, a world that would test him, challenge him, and change him forever. And he realized, with a mix of fear and thrill, that there was no turning back. that the unexpected reaction had set the course, and he was now a part of it, willingly or not. The morning sun struggled to pierce through the thick clouds, painting the street in pale, uneasy light, and John sat on the edge of his small porch, still reeling from the events of the night. The alien neighbor was nowhere to be seen, but the memory of her glowing eyes, the unexpected reaction, and the tension in the air lingered, pressing on him like a weight impossible to ignore. He wondered what she had been thinking, why she hadn't attacked, why she had tested him instead of fleeing or lashing out, and a strange curiosity burned inside him, a need to understand her motives. His mind replayed every movement, every sound, every glance, searching for meaning in the behavior he couldn't decode, and he realized that something about her was different, something that went beyond instinct, beyond normal alien behavior. The street was quiet, too quiet, and every rustle of leaves, every creak of a fence made him flinch as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the next move, the next revelation. Then he noticed a small object lying near the edge of his yard, partially hidden in the grass, glowing faintly with the same light he had seen in her eyes, and he felt a jolt of recognition. A spark of fear mixed with fascination. He approached slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements, and picked it up, noticing the intricate patterns etched on its surface, patterns that seemed to shift slightly as he turned it in his hands. Almost alive, almost aware, it was a small device, alien in design but clearly made with purpose, and John's mind raced, trying to understand what it could mean, how it connected to her, and why she had left it here, so deliberately yet so subtly. He felt a sudden presence behind him and his body tensed, ready to react, but when he turned there was no one, only the faint breeze moving through the trees, carrying a scent he couldn't name, a scent that reminded him of her, of the night, of something hidden. John realized that the device was not just a tool. It was a message, a clue, a key to understanding something he had not yet seen, and the realization sent a thrill through him, mingling with the fear that had never left his side. He examined the device closely, noticing symbols that seemed to form a language, a code, and as he traced them with his fingers, a faint vibration pulsed through it, like a heartbeat, alive, aware, and responding to him. John felt a connection he couldn't explain, a pull toward something greater, something hidden just beneath the surface, and he knew that the alien neighbor was at the center of it, that her behavior, her tests, her glowing eyes, were all part of a larger truth, the truth that she had been hiding, or maybe that she had been waiting for him to discover, a truth that could change everything, not just for him, but for the world around him, for the city, for the life he thought he knew. He remembered the stories he had read, tales of humans encountering alien intelligence, of secrets buried in plain sight, and he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, heavy and unyielding, yet impossible to ignore. John knew he had to act, to follow the clues, to seek the answers that had been offered to him in the form of this small glowing device, and despite the fear, despite the unknown, he felt a surge of determination, of courage he had never felt before. He tucked the device carefully into his pocket, knowing that every step from this point would be critical. Every decision could lead to discovery or danger, and the thought both terrified and exhilarated him. The hidden truth was calling to him, whispering in a language only he could feel, only he could sense, and he knew that the alien neighbor, with all her strange behavior, had entrusted him with it whether he was ready or not. He walked slowly toward the forest at the edge of the street, where the shadows were deepest, where the morning light had yet to reach, and every step seemed to echo in the silent world around him, a warning, a challenge, an invitation. John felt the weight of eyes on him, not just the aliens but the world watching, the hidden forces that had been shaping events, and he realized that this was bigger than he had imagined, bigger than his fears, bigger than the night he had first seen her in. He paused, taking a deep breath, feeling the air fill his lungs, sensing the life, the energy, the possibilities around him, and he understood that the hidden truth was not just a secret. It was a revelation, a power, a choice. And with that realization, John stepped forward into the shadows, into the unknown, into the path that the alien neighbor had opened for him, knowing that from this moment, nothing would ever be the same. The hidden truth awaited him, alive and pulsating, and he knew that discovering it would change everything. Not just about her, not just about him, but about the world they both shared, a world full of secrets, danger, and unimaginable possibilities. And as he moved deeper, feeling the pulse of the device, the pull of the unknown, John felt alive in a way he had never imagined, and for the first time, He understood that the alien next door was more than just a neighbor. She was a key, a guide, a force that would reveal the hidden truth whether the world was ready or not. And John realized that his life, his choices, and his courage would decide how that truth would unfold. And in the stillness of the morning, with the shadows stretching around him, John knew that he had crossed a line, entered a realm of secrets and power, and that the alien neighbor's strange behavior, her tests, and her reactions had been leading him here all along, to the hidden truth, waiting just beyond the light, ready to change everything.